Hey everyone, it's Robin. Welcome to my desk. I am filming a few videos back to back here, so if I sound the same or if you see the color of my sweatshirt being the same, you're right. It is the same night. I guess if I'm on a roll, I'm on a roll, and there were a few things that I wanted to make sure that I did in video when it was quiet in the house and I have the time, I have the energy, and so I'm doing it. This is my ink journal part 2. It is a complement to the previous video where I showed you my ink blob journal, my ink journal that has all of my ink samples and writing samples in my little A6 book housed in a Giglio. And this is my favorite thing that I thought of. I'm sure that other people were doing it also. I've had this book in operation for over a year now, I believe. I guess I'd have to look at the dates and see when I started this. But I know that I mentioned in a previous video that it was becoming interestingly frustrating to me that I could not keep track of inks and pens in a way that was helpful to me. So what I ended up working out with myself was that there needed to be a system on rings specifically so that I could add pages and keep things in alphabetical order, to track what inks looked like from different pens that I owned, like the combinations. One of my frustrations with this little book is when I try to find something, things aren't organized by color, things aren't organized by maker. If I was trying to find an ink, it's literally a page by page flip through, unless I have it in my head, oh, I've had that ink for some time, which chronologically, I guess, the inks in the beginning of this book are some of the inks that I've owned for the very longest time. Noodler's Lexington Gray was the very first bottle of ink that I ever purchased for my fountain pens, and with a fountain pen back years ago. So as I've added inks, I've added pages. So like I said, chronologically, my newest ink purchases would be my order from Cult Pens, the fruit line. So it's really challenging to find something in this book, though, and that always bothered me. A lot of people really enjoy putting their ink samples on these coloring cards and then keeping them either in color order or in maker order, or I don't know how, there's probably a million different ways to arrange those. And I thought that that would be nice, but still didn't really give me an idea what the ink looked like from just this little card. I think that when you put a swatch down, whether it's on a coloring card or whether it's on a page like this, these are not, in my opinion, what the ink is going to look like in writing on the page. And honestly, this really doesn't work for me either, because I use the brass nib on this one, and then I've got a few other dip pens that I use for ink samples so that I don't have to load them in fountain pens, and I'm sure everybody else does that too, because nobody wants to put ink in a fountain pen when you're just looking at what it looks like, and then you have to clean it out if it doesn't work out. So I toyed with the idea of starting 2 different books, one being a writing sample book where I would rewrite a short story or rewrite a novel of some kind using a different ink each page so that I'd have an idea what that ink looked like. And I think I even did fronts and backs. I'm not sure. Maybe I just did one page. But Lord have mercy, that certainly took up a lot of time and energy. And I might revisit that now that I have the time to. But I was still missing one really critical element. And so I pulled out my very first planner that I ever purchased, my yellow original Filofax, which I absolutely love. And I made it into my ink journal 2, my second one. And what this book is an alphabetically listed fountain pen per page, and then alphabetically listed ink by page. So each fountain pen has a page, each ink has a page. So as I accumulated pens, and I don't think I even have all of my pens written in here, you'll see that this is the page for my Bennu Cookies and Cream with a medium nib, and every time I ink up that pen, I will write in this book on this page the date, the ink, and then just a little thought about whether I liked it or not. So it gives me a good idea how the pen behaves with different inks, the saturation, the dryness, the wetness, because I enjoy watching videos of people who do the whole ink exploration, where they do the water test and they do the dry time and everything. I'm not at that juncture of my fountain pen and ink enjoyment, and I'm not sure that I will be. This fits the bill just fine for me. So you can see this pen I've only used once. If I were going to sell pens, I might use this as a source of, gee, you don't reach for that pen. You've inked it only once since you've owned it in March, since I purchased it in March, so maybe that one could go away. This one, on the other hand, I have inked 3 times, so I must like that one a little bit more, and so on. So just a really quick flip through of some of the pages in here. I think you get the idea by just looking at 1 or 2. What is my favorite fountain pen that I own? One of them that is definitely one of my favorites is my Sailor 1911. I have inked that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times since January 28th. This one, my very favorite fountain pen is this Platinum Clematis 3776, and I acquired that in April of this year, and it doesn't have more writing samples in it because I think I refilled this ink 2 or 3 times before I tried a different one in the pen, and then I switched back to the one that I started with. So clearly that's a win for me, and I don't know if I'll ever try another ink in there. The other 3776 that I have, again, it's been in high use 4 times since, but my very favorite fountain pen is my my second favorite fountain pen that I've had a little bit longer. I've had it since February, is my Pilot 912. And I'm going to have to either decide if I'm going to write on the back or add another page for that pen. But yeah, I mean, there's not an ink that I own that I have not liked in it other than just sheer color dislike overall or unhappiness. So then, that's a front section, and then I've got a little divider, and then I've got all of my inks alphabetically arranged so that they are very easy to find and flip around to. So let's see what my favorite inks are in here. I've used French State 3 times and Delaware, Colorverse Delaware 3 times. Some of these I wonder, like, if I've missed writing down that I've used them because I feel like I use them more. This section has a potential to get huge, right? Because you can add inks as you acquire them. But I feel like I should have had that in more pens. So this is one of my very favorite inks, Sydney Darling Harbor. I guess that's going to be it. Let's say twice, 3 times, Colorverse. Yeah. So, anyways, Mad Hatter. I liked that one enough to use it twice. This is a really good page actually to stop on for just a second, because it demonstrates the difference between this ink in a medium Lamy nib and a fine Lamy nib. And I'd say obviously the medium Lamy leans more towards a bold in the Eastern pen makers nibs. And the fine is more like a medium in the Eastern nibs. Maybe this one's a little bit closer to a fine, but I very much enjoy this ink in a broader nib pen than in the finer nib pen. And if I do choose to ink with, when I choose to ink another pen with Mad Hatter, I will absolutely reach for something with a nib more on the broad side. And same thing with Resurrection. I really enjoyed that ink. I enjoy it more in a broad nib than in a fine nib. And other inks, I'm sure, are opposite of that. So, so that's the ink section of my book and the pen section of my book. And I have found myself reaching for this more than I thought that I would. So I very, very, very much enjoy my ink journal too. With pens and inks in it. I hope you enjoyed looking. I hope it wasn't too extremely boring. If it was extremely boring, you're probably not hearing me apologizing for it being boring, because you've clicked off this video long ago. All right, everyone. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I always love to hear from you. And thank you so much. And I will see you later. Bye.